to start us off, Esther, now that you are already talking, maybe you can continue, and then Graham will take over as we start off the conversation. Where did it all begin? Remember we are talking today about alcoholism and drug abuse, and that there is hope. You can have victory, for those that are joining us, that are just joining us, karibuni sana. And so we are talking about hope. We are here to encourage you that in case you're, going through this, or, somebody who is caught up, is an alcoholic, there is hope and they can be delivered. God is able. And today we have Graham and Esther to share with us their story. They went through it. We will hear how many years it was. And today they have a different story to tell. So just to start us off, Esther, where did it all begin? How did you start? Do you remember your first drink? How old were you? How did that all start?
Well, I took my first drink when I was 18. We had finished our A-levels. I am of the old system, Form 6. And we felt that we had become adults, and if you're an adult, you're allowed to drink. So we were trying it out. It started very innocently, just thinking that, there's nothing wrong with it. But the first experience, I didn't like it much because we overdid it, and the feeling was so horrible. And I remember telling myself, I don't think this is made for me. But we all know that alcoholism is progressive. But that is when I had my first drink after my A-levels, waiting to go to university.
Okay, Graham, when was it? When did it all begin?
Yeah, I'm saying for me it all began when I just finished my Form 4. I was actually a friend of mine called we used to call him Cheesy. He was actually my best friend at that time, and the first time I had a drink, I remember there was a site which we were building, and he came over and he was like, "Yo, let's just take a ride." So we went, and then we bought a half of KC, and at that particular time, I also didn't know that my mother was actually seeing us, because she knew the car which I had. So we bought it, and then we drove back to the site. And then my mom happened to call me, and she was like, "Hi, where are you?" I'm like, "I'm at the site in Nini." So she never even mentioned anything. So when we got home, that's when I drank. And man, it was the most nastiest thing I'd ever taken. And that was the first time I actually got high. And I remember I puked so much. So when I was puking, that's when my mother came. She just got it home, and she found me puking, and she asked me, "Kwani, what's wrong?" Then I was like, "I'm just not feeling well." But she already knew exactly what was going on. So that was my first experience with alcohol.
Wow. Thank you. I hear both Esther and Graham. When you started, it didn't taste good. It wasn't really a good experience, but yet it was a long journey that brought you to where you are today. Sarah, how did how did you notice where you saw the first? Graham says that you saw him, you found him puking, and you were asking what's wrong. What was running through your mind when you saw that situation?
Actually, it was number one, of course, I was very shocked to see that he had drunk. Yet, you see, according to the book of Proverbs 26, it says that, Proverbs 22 verse 6 says, "Train up a child the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it." And then I was like, now this child, I've trained him. I used to be with Ben Graham when he was a very small child. I would go with him to school, and I would keep on counseling him, and I always used to carry my Bible, we'd read the Word of God together. And then when this happened, of course, he was much, much older. It was soon after Form 4, and then there was this friend of his that he calls Chief. So when he went and drank, I was very shocked because I was like, I could smell the alcohol, and even I also suspected that from the way he was talking, the voice was not the way I used to hear him talk. So I asked him what exactly had happened. He's trying to lie to me, but of course it really hurt me, and I was like, goodness, you should stop drinking. But he never stopped. So I felt it hurt me, and I felt like, is it me who is failing, or what is the problem? So I sat him down. I didn't beat him, but I was like, GB, this one, I don't think it's right, because when you start drinking, you might find yourself in trouble. And of course, as a parent, you don't feel good.
Yeah.
I think it was sometimes in 2009.
Yeah, because for us parents, the Bible says, train up a child, and you have done everything you know to do. You have, you are in church, probably you're a pastor, or you're serving in the church, but it seems your children end up, not following the path that you really expected. And yes, I can feel you. It hurts, to feel that you have invested so much, but yet your child is not turning out the way that you had intended. But thank God, there is hope. Graham, are you there? I hope you're on the call.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm here.
After that first experience, what happened? How did it progress? Did you hide it? Did you hide it from anybody? How did it progress from that first drink? You said that it didn't taste really good. It was horrible. But what happened that you continued?
So actually, after that first drink, I never drank again. That was my first drink. That was in 2006. And after that first drink, I didn't drink again for quite some time until 2008. And how I ended up drinking again was I'd gone for a house party. Now this time I was in year 12, form 5, and I'd gone to a house party, and someone offered me alcohol, and I was like, I see, and they were like, no. I was like, this thing is too bitter, and he was like, no, you know what? Let me show you another way of how we do it. So he mixed the vodka with ginger ale, the soda. And when I tasted it, I think now that's where I was like, wow, this thing doesn't taste so bad. And now from there, now my drinking now just started being just over the weekends, So that's where now I just started now drinking now pole.
Okay, Esther, how was your experience from that first drink? How did it progress and, come to a level of concern?
Okay, for me, after that first time, I didn't like the taste, but I went on to university, and in my time at the university, we used to be given boom, so we all had money. Everybody was drinking, so you had no excuse really, because you can't say I'm broke. It was just the normal thing to do in campus, and so continued drinking. I remember in my first year, my grades were very good. I was just full of A's. But when it came to second year, things were becoming a bit different. There were not as many A's, because I still continued to party. I was a rugby fan because my cousins played rugby. The scene was really drinking after the games and going out and all that kind of thing. And in my last year, I don't know, something just told me if I continue this way, I might not graduate. So I decided to stay at home. I was actually a day bag in campus, which people found very odd because everyone wants to live on campus and get the freedom. But that was just a personal choice I did. And lucky for me, I graduated with honors. I went on to get a scholarship to do my master's in the UK. But even in the UK, the drinking still continued. I connected with other Kenyans, and Kenyans love to enjoy themselves, and they continued drinking. And so to me, it wasn't I didn't think it was a serious thing because I was passing. I mean, I had no issues with my school.
Yes.
Came back to Kenya, got a very good job with a multinational. You're single, you have no responsibility, you work hard from Monday to Friday. By the weekend, you say, I deserve it. I worked hard and it's my money. Continued to drink and have fun over the weekends. And slowly, of course, alcoholism is progressive. And it caught up with me in the sense of, in the beginning, I'm only drinking over the weekends. Before you know it, you're saying, oh, we can drink on Wednesday because it's ladies' night. Before you know it, you're saying, Thursday, the weekend is almost here, so you're drinking now 3-4 times a week. Within a short time, you're drinking every day. I remember saying the only day I can't drink is Monday and Sunday. Because Sunday, surely, why are you drinking on Sunday? You're going to work on Monday, you want to look fresh. And on Monday, you're saying, no, it's the beginning of the week. But eventually, of course, it caught up with me, getting to work late, going through losing jobs. Sometimes I would lose a job on a Friday. I would tell them it is your loss, because in a week or two I get another job. I was lucky enough, my brains were still intact, and so I lied to myself that it's their loss, and I've gotten another job, and I move on and I start the other job. But the drinking never really stopped as such until it started getting out of hand. But eventually, I got married, and my husband was also an alcoholic, but of course I didn't know at the time. I just thought we make a very good couple because we don't ask each other questions about who is drinking more than the other. But unfortunately, it got to him, and he got liver cirrhosis, and unfortunately passed away. But when he passed away, you would have thought that a logical, normal human being, especially a mother at that time, would say the right thing to do really is never to drink again. But actually, that was the beginning of my downfall, my spiral, because I went into depression for a whole 5 years. I didn't deal with the grief. And my only way of dealing with the grief and everything that was happening around me was the alcohol. And of course, it's progressive until I hit rock bottom with all the effects that come with it. And I knew I'd reached a point where I can't live like this anymore. So that's how for me it progressed.
And now that you talk about that, how did it affect your daughter?
It was really a horrible time. Those 5 years were a horrible time for me and her. She had to stay with my mom. It's just a place I don't like going back to. But I affected. I messed up all my relationships with my own mom, my sister, who was always trying to get help. I was always in denial. Not being able to watch my daughter grow. At that time, she was, I think, only 3 years. From the time she was 3 until 8 years, 9 years is when I went into rehab. So not being there, I used to have a house girl whom I would pay good money to make sure that she takes care of her. It would be very sad sometimes that by the time I'm getting home, everyone is asleep. By the time people have woken up and gone to school, I am asleep. By the time they are back, I am not there. So it was really a terrible time. But not knowing that, I think at that point I was feeling very helpless, because somewhere in the back of the mind, I knew there's something wrong, but I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know how to get help. I was stigmatized a lot. Many people abandoned me, so to speak, in terms of we don't know how to help her, so let her just be. We pray to God. So I didn't really have anyone I could reach out to, because first of all, I didn't even understand that I needed help And so it was a very difficult time for me that time. And by the time I was hitting rock bottom,
Yes.
My daughter was actually taken away from me.
Wow.
I was reported to the police by her school, and it was just a mess. But at that point, I said, "No, this cannot be the life I was born to live. Let me try and ask for help." And I reached out to my sister, and whom I hadn't talked to for a long time, but she was very happy to help me, and I got myself into a rehab.
Thank you. We'll get deeper into that. Thank you so much for sharing that, and just for just having you come and talk about your story. Many times people don't think women drink. We only look at men drinking, and we assume it's not an issue that affects women. And maybe just to ask, did you hide your drinking problem, Esther?
I think at some point it's not really about hiding. You drink. I would drink with people, drinks, and go home. Me, I would not be able to do that. I would stay. They would actually leave me. So I found them boring. So I started drinking with people who are like me, who are also alcoholics. Now that I realize, so those drinking buddies were like me. So nobody would be shocked that you're drinking in the morning or you're drunk to the whole weekend. No one is going to look at you because you're all the same. So it's really hiding in the sense that I drank with people who didn't know me, who didn't really know me. These were drinking buddies, so to speak. Not really friends.
Yes.
Yeah. Today I can buy, tomorrow you can buy, and we drink the same. And so the hiding was in that sense. I would not be in places. I would be drinking in places where even when I think about it today, I wonder, how did I even enter this place? But yeah, that kind of thing. So when I'm with other people who know me, then you have to pretend and have your 2 drinks. But of course, you have been drinking before. So then by the time you get there, you already have your fix. You can pretend with the 2 drinks to look normal. And after whatever is over, you go to your normal place to continue. Yeah, so that's the way it kind of went through.
Wow. Thank you. And Elizabeth, now you're with us. What are some of the signs we as parents should be looking out for?
My experience.
Yes.
My experience, first and foremost, is that the children of the alcoholics suffers most because they don't know what is normal, what is abnormal. They don't know what is healthy, what is unhealthy, and they enter into depression. And even in the near future, they suffer in relationships because of their upbringing. They grow with low self-esteem. They grow discouraged, and most of them perform poorly in life because they have been brought up by the parents that are alcoholics. My personal experience is that the parents are actually the main source why their children start drinking. And when I say parents, I say we grown up, the guardians, and the people we look at as our parents, our uncles, our old brothers. Because when a parent is sending a young child to go to the shop to buy him cigarettes, when a child is exposed to alcohol and drugs, because you enter into many people's homes during parties, parents are drinking and children are watching, and children want to know what is this black soda, because parents cheat the children. This is black soda. And children want to experience what is this black soda that mommy and daddy drink when they have visitors. Some parents go beyond stocking beers and wines in their fridge. And when they are away, the children, out of curiosity, want to experience that. So the first level of addiction is through experiential. Parents, when they smoke and they throw the cigars, the remaining cigars on the ground. After they leave, the children take it. And they want to smoke. They want to light the way they see our daddies do it. And they start admiring you. Because they think it's something good you're doing. And as they grow up deciding to taste what they have seen their daddies and their uncles and their elder brother taste. And that is why you see that most children, after they finish high school and they're out of their homes, where mommy and daddy are not watching them, and they become free, they want to taste, they want to see, they want to smoke, because they want to live the life they have seen their parents live. And that is how children become cool. In fact, most of the people who are in addiction, how they started, it is the grown-up who introduced them, consciously or unconsciously, knowing it or unknowingly. But the problem with us Kenyans is that when we see someone who is addicted, addiction is not the problem. Alcoholism is not the problem. That is just a presenting issue. We should ask ourselves, why is this person drinking? Why is this person using drugs? Because the alcoholism is just a presenting issue. Because behind the drinking, there is a specific issue that is causing the person to drink. And that is what we want to address. For example, for youth, once they have a lot of energy, and we as parents, we give them a lot of money. When you are giving your children a lot of money and they are not answerable, maybe in school, they are eating in school, you are giving a child a pocket money of 5,000, 4,000. What do you expect that child to do with 5,000? So we parents, we are to blame. And if we can take our responsibility, we can prevent our children from taking alcohol as early as they have started.
Yes, Elizabeth.
Children have learned and they have watched us drinking. So I blame the I blame the parents.
We are hearing and we are getting stung as you speak. You know, I just watched a clip. I was watching it this afternoon. It was sent in a group where I am. And it's a clip of some children. I will not say in which estates, but it's one of the estates in Nairobi. And about 10 to 12 children were being arrested by police. They were in a house drinking alcohol, about 50 children drinking alcohol. And these are 15 to 18-year-olds. Yeah, so I can feel Elizabeth's passion as she speaks, that it is us, it is adults, because one thing you can be sure of, it is an adult that probably bought that alcohol that those children were drinking. We never know. But you know, as Sarah said, sometimes we parents do everything we know how to do. We do everything. The late servant of God, Esther Oloo, one of his sons had an issue of, I think, drug abuse and alcoholism. And it's not that he wasn't raised in a good home. He was raised in, you'd say one of the best homes. These are servants of God who have served the Lord, who have given themselves to the Lord, but yet their son did not choose to follow the path of the parents. He went the path of drug abuse, and they had to get him out of jail severally, until finally the man of God, Esther Oloo, said, enough is enough. You are old enough, and you can make your own decisions. And he stopped bailing him out. Sometimes parents do everything they know to do, but still something goes wrong. Yeah, and so I would like to just hand over to Graham now to tell us what was the progression for you. You told us about how it started. Your friend introduced you. It went on progressing, to that extreme end. How did it affect your family? How did it affect your health, your work, your finances, your relationship with friends? If you can share with us more, Graham.
Thanks, Terry. But before I answer your question,
yes,
there's something I'd just like to address.
Yes, go ahead.
In regards to what Esther was, to what Elizabeth was saying. It's not all children, not all parents are to blame, because this, as the reason why we also call it a disease, is that there's something known as the X gene. Now, some of us have the X gene. For me personally, I have it, and it's usually it's in the genes. Now, you see, this is something that we never asked for it, and the reason why I'm saying that is because for in my family, especially from on my dad's side, it's affected all the men. You know, my uncles, all the male cousins, all they do suffer from substance abuse, some sort of substance abuse disorder. Now, for me, I didn't even know I had it. Now, the minute I started drinking, I also didn't understand what was going on. I just kept on drinking and drinking. Yeah. So at times, even just to explain what you were saying about that son of the pastor,
yes,
chances are, if you look much harder, if you look down the family tree, you'd find that maybe some people in their family did suffer from addiction from one point or another. Now, on my progression, so my drinking now just continued, and I started off just drinking on the weekends. You know, every time we go out, you know, I'd drink, but I'd also not get high. You know, I'd always be the designated driver. There were weekends that I'd choose not to drink. But as time went on, I realized that I actually, you know, started now drinking a lot more, and my tolerance went quite high, whereby you'd find that I'd actually finish a whole 750 ml, which is Mzinga, and I'd still be very okay. Now, at that point, I thought that was so cool. My friends thought that was so cool. But little did I know that it's actually a problem. So it continued like that, and I started even now drinking on weekdays. I started now drinking on weekdays, you know, after work, I'd go drink like that. Then eventually it continued now progressing where I started drinking during the day, like in the morning. You know, I'd drink like at least one quarter, I'd stay, then at lunchtime drink another one. And then now it started now, and it became now it was full blown, whereby I'd now start drinking from morning to morning. Now, at that point, it got so bad that I literally now became dependent on alcohol, whereby I literally could not get out of bed without alcohol. I couldn't even go to the toilet without alcohol. I couldn't see. My vision was so bad, it was blurry without alcohol. I couldn't write. I couldn't do anything. Now, that also put a lot of strain on my family.
Yeah.
You know, I was always in constant conflict with my mother, my sister, and eventually my nephew, you know, because now at this point where I was so dependent, of course, I wasn't given money. I couldn't work, so I used to steal. So I used to steal to also facilitate my drinking, not because that I wanted to, but because I couldn't do anything. My body needed it. It needed the alcohol for me to survive. So I really became, you know, I became a thief. I became a liar. You know, even I've conned, when I was in active addiction, I've conned some of my mother's friends.
Wow.
I have sold things. I remember one time I sold a Bluetooth speaker which belonged to my nephew for, I think, 300 or was it 500? I can't even remember because I was so high, but I needed it because I remember I was so weak. I couldn't be able to walk. But immediately I got my drink, I got the energy. Wow. So also my friends, I lost so many friends because, you know, I borrowed money from them, I didn't pay back. It just got so bad to a point whereby eventually my mother just had to kick me out of home, and she actually now ended up getting police officers to guard home because at this point everyone was just coming and asking her like, yo, you know, your son owes us money, you know what. And after that, now I started now moving from friends places to another friend. They'd host me for a week, 2 weeks, I'd do something, I'd steal something. So eventually I ended up in a slum. So it's in Kayole. And now that is where I was now introduced into the life of crime. I actually became now a professional gangster. And for me, the stealing was now for more to just facilitate, because all the money I used to get was just drink and drink myself to a stupor. I've tried killing myself. I've tried committing suicide 3 times. I've slit my wrist. I've overdosed on pills.
Wow.
I've also been resuscitated once. I've gotten into so many car accidents. Those ones where I was being resuscitated. I've been beaten by a mob. So the progression just got terrible. Alcohol just took me down to the most, I think, the lowest of the low. So yeah, that's how my progression was.
Wow. I mean, hearing that, Sarah, how did it affect you as the mother? I mean, it's really a testimony that we are here hearing this, and that Graham is alive today, and his life was spared. How did it affect you as the mother?
Number one, what I will say is that prayers really do work, because for Ben to be alive today, I'll tell you the things and the experience he has gone through, this thing called alcoholism.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'll say it's like drama, or shall I say it's like a movie, or shall I say something that actually is just God. I'll say it is God who really saved his life. Because after now, of course, he continued drinking. When he went to Form 6, I took him. You can imagine now I sacrificed so much. I stopped doing some projects so that I could take him to a very good school. And of course, paying very expensive, taking him to Pt.1 so that he could get very good education. And then, of course, he never really did so well. Then after that, he went to USIU. I tried telling him, no, let me take you to African Nazarene, where your sister was, because of course it's a Christian-based university. He completely refused and said, no, ma'am, I want to go to USIU. And you see, USIU had already done some homework, and I realized that very many children, when they go there, they just become alcoholics or addicts, and I was very worried for him. And he told me, ma'am, you know what, I'm a grown-up, I'm not going to drink. But let me tell you, the boy really drank. You can imagine one time I went to his bedroom, which he always used to lock. When I went to his bedroom, I was very shocked. In the whole room, there were all types of bottles of alcohol. And I imagined that he had taken so much. You can imagine from one corner going around that house, that room, because it's a big room, alcohol, different types of some alcohol that I have never seen. And then from there, he used to be also very rude, and he would be like, Yani, I don't know what I can even say. I don't know the right words to use. I would look at him and ask myself, really, is this my son? Is this the son I have brought up? Is this the son that I have sacrificed so much? And at times I would really go so low, and I would feel like, is it because maybe the father is not there? If he was alive, probably he would not be behaving the way he does. But then I would also, at times I sit with myself and look around and see how about other families where, of course, also children. I have children of pastors, others are children whose parents are both alive. And then I said, no, I don't have to blame myself. And what Elizabeth has said about some parents giving their children a lot of money, I'll tell you one thing. For me, I used to be very strict when it came to finances. When I was taking my child to school, I used to buy him snacks, but I hardly used to give him money. With my daughter, the same. Even the school fees, even the children that I always support, I don't give money. I go and pay to the school or to the college because I know what money does. But then you see him, he was very smart. He knew me very well, because even when I was taking him to school, he has grown knowing me. He has grown, of course, knowing my weaknesses. And he would just go to my handbag and steal some money, you can imagine. And then I would check my handbag and I'm like, where did my money disappear to? And I would think maybe I bought something without doing. He had stolen this money to go and, of course, try to please people and or his friends. And then he would steal vehicles at home. He would even take the spare key, and then I would look for the spare key, and I'm like, where did I throw away this key? How did I misplace it? And let me tell you, he could get involved in horrible, horrible accidents. But guess what? He never even got scared, not even once. And I would be like, goodness, Lord, I would pray for him. And I would say, and I would wake up in the middle of the night, and I would just, I think the spirit which would wake me up. I would sit down and I would pray and I would kneel and I would say, GB is not going to die. He's my son. God is your son. He's not going to die. So emotionally also, I was also very affected. There's some neighbors also would accuse me and tell me, you don't bring up your child well. And I'm like, how now can they say this? I'm always with my children. I'm not this parent who is usually away from the children, except maybe like the time I was going to give my talks and all that. But most of the times, I always used to be together with my children. I would travel with them. I would go out with them. I would talk to them. I would even preach. We would even read the Bible together. And then you can imagine how the world is there, blaming me, and you're like, yeah, could I be the problem? But then I thank God for my daughter, because at times she would tell me, Mom, you have to be very tough with GB, because at times it just takes advantage. And let me tell you, one time, some cops came home, and I was shocked to see them come home. And I asked them, what's the problem? They told me, you know what? Your son went to some bar. He took so much alcohol together with some of his friends. And now he's, we want now that money. And I said, I can't pay that money because it's not me who took the alcohol. Then they said, well, we shall get him, we shall just shoot him. Oh my goodness, I was too worried for him. So you can imagine also the worry. Every time you're under fear that your child, you don't know what is going to happen to him. He can die anytime. You can be caught for the cops. And you're like, now God, what am I supposed to do as a mother? What am I supposed to do as a parent? I have given this boy love. I have given him everything. But God, is it me who is a problem? And I would go down on my knees and I would pray and tell God, show me what I need to do. That time I would even call a counselor to come and talk to him. And then he would be counseled for some time, then he would disappear. Then he would disappear from home for weeks and weeks. Then when he comes back home, he will come and steal either tires or steal even laptops. I remember the time he stole 2 laptops and he came and lied to me. And let me tell you one characteristic of alcoholics. They are very manipulative. Number 2, they are very good liars and they are very smart upstairs. So he will play around with your psychology and you're like, I think, no, then he tells you, I think you misplaced the laptop, but you are very sure it's him who took the laptop. And would get into heated arguments. And I would ask him, now, what do you want me to do for you? And why are you doing all this to me? Business was also affected because most of the time I would be thinking about him. I was not being very productive. And I would be like, God, now show me the way. Show me what I need to do about it. Because I've done my everything. And so one time, that was, I think, in 2018, after doing everything that I could, because I took him to the first rehab, he went and fought with one of the caregivers there, and then he was chased away. And during that time, I bought for him mattresses and very, of course, nice shoes and everything. So I equipped him to go there. Then he just left everything. So I had to send the sister later on to go and pick them. And of course, having a don't care attitude. I was like, doesn't he really feel it? And I would ask him, GP, is it that you don't feel like I'm losing so much? And he would just look at me and not even say anything. Or other times it would be so rude. And I would be like, now, is this my son who is talking like this? Then one time, again, now he got involved in a very serious accident. He got under the vehicle. It was a lorry, which was, I think, had stalled along the Eastern Bypass. And I was shocked that this boy came out, just whole. Then I was caught by the cop at 4 a.m. I was in my daughter here. The cop told me, come to Rio Hospital. Your son, I think, is dead. You can imagine. So I didn't want to tell the sister that the brother was dead. When I got there, I looked at him and I was so, like, oh my God, he was so high, he could not even feel himself. We tried to even pinch him, even to call him. They tried to resuscitate him, and I was just praying there and looking at him. And then after that, then of course, after I did 3 hours of trying to resuscitate him, he sat up and he was just looking, he was very dazed. Then when we came out, of course, we went to the police station because we had to go and record a statement. And then after that, he still went back to drink. You can imagine how frustrating that is. Later on, after some time again, he came and stole the vehicle, another vehicle. He went also got another accident. And I was like, I think this man wants to die. And he actually attempted suicide, I think 3 times. And I was like, there's a time I woke up, seeing him dead, and I was like, God, no, I refused with my son dying. I don't want him to die. At this corpse, I'm saying God is not a corpse, but he's alive. So I called him. Fortunately, he picked my call in the middle of the night. Then after that, his phone went off. And then another time he sent me a message, Mom, I just want to die. I was like, GB, why do you want to die? What is the problem? What can I do for you? Yani, I had tried everything. I had even called pastors, come and pray for my son, come and talk to him. I would even call my friends, maybe some men friends, talk to my son. I even took him to another museum because, of course, even at work, he could not even relate with employees. He would even shout at them. He would also demand money from the managers. And everywhere he went, he was very chaotic. Then one day I said, that was in 2018. Now, just like I said, I decided this young man, he has taken me for granted. I'm going to chase him away from home. So I came home. I went to a security company. I got security guards, 2 guards, one for evening and one for daytime. And after that, I said that you should never allow him to come home. Afterwards, I told him, GB, when you go away, you will know that, of course, home is always better than the outside world. Now, I have given you everything. I have given you my love. I have given you everything that I could. Best education, a good home. I've taken you to work, to go and work, and you told me you'd work, and you have refused to work. So now, go to that world that you feel is going to be good for you. So when I released him, I was very shocked to hear him say that he used to sleep in vibandas after leaving a comfortable home. I didn't even know that he had joined gangsters. I thank God that he never died. But all through, I'm sure he learned something. Later on is when I was to be called to be told that he's somewhere in Nakuru. He had been beaten, and that, of course, they also wanted to burn him alive because he had left a bill there. So a certain lady, I don't know how she got it. I think she gave him, he gave her my telephone, and she called me. It was almost 7 p.m. And she told me, you know what? I do not know you, but the name of your son, I think he's a Meru, so and me, I'm from Meru, and I feel that your son shouldn't die. Please come for him, lest you be killed. But before that, please send this amount of money. If you want your son alive, you can imagine. So I sent the money, and then after that, I organized with some people, some 2 men. They went for him. He was brought to another rehab, which is called Eden Village. And that is how my son was saved. So I really want to thank God that he's alive. And that rehab, he went through it a whole year, and you can imagine how expensive it is. But I said my son's life is more important than the money. I had spent so much all through my life, but this time I want him alive. And I thank God that at least now he has changed, and I'm believing and trusting in God that he will not go back to drinking. So because I know he can hear me, GB, I am praying for you even now. And I am telling the enemy that he has no place in your life. Amen. That I want you, yes, because of course God always wants his people to define their purpose, and he has already defined it. Thank you very much, even for bringing this program. I know there's someone who is listening here, and probably they're like, does it happen to me? But let me tell you, the work of the enemy is to steal, to kill, and to destroy.